Here is the joy validation, just a simple schema, a simple data, and getting all errors. However, there is only one problem with joy, its size. As you can see, it is about 42 kilobyte after it is gzipped. Even though there are many alternative options that are way lighter than joy, like JSON schema and validate8.js, they all are pretty complex, and that's what pushed me to create Valit, which is less than a kilobyte, and it can be used instead of joy for simple tasks like checking if a field is required or not, and min, max, length, email, and all this stuff. As you see, it is 61 times smaller than joy, and almost smaller than all of them. And let's install it, npm I valit. Then let's require it, const valit is equal to require valit. Now let's recreate our schema. Start by const schema is equal to, and we will create an object. And what's our first field? The username. Write it here again, username colon valit.create schema. We do this for each field. We wanted first the data type, so valid string, then is that field required, valid.is required if it is required, or valid.not required if it is not required. Also, not required is alternative for false, and is required is alternative for true, but it's better to stick with valid.is required to make it easier to read. Finally, we need a min length of 3 and max length of 30, and one out from here. Now let's copy the password and paste it here. Replace all of this with valid.create schema. So we're going to type valid.string, comma valid.is required as it is required. Finally, in the option are going to type min colon 5. For the email address, we're going to cut it from here, paste here. So valid.create schema, valid.string, we don't need that, it is required, so valid.is required. And in the options we're going to add email colon true to make it an email address. And for the age, let's delete this. Now for the age, we are going to type valid.create schema, valid.number, we don't need that, it is not required, so we're going to type valid.not required. And in the options we're going to add min colon 5, max colon 100, we don't need those. Also, the only required field is valid.number or the data type, the other fields are not required, and the required field is default to false or not required. So, and to validate it and to get errors, we are going to type valid dot check. We pass the data first, then our schema, and this returns the errors directly. So we are going to get it from here, errors, return back to terminal, run node index.js. Oops, oh, here is the error. The string is not a function, it is just a better way of typing a string directly. So get into results, let's run the code again, index.js, and here are the errors we got from our data. Username must be at least 3 characters, so let's type it. So let's fix that error, run it again. Password is required, let's add the password and run it again. And as you probably noticed, it is the error is just an object, and the key is the field or the path to that field, and its value is an array of all errors found. It may be one or more. Email must be a valid email address, so let's add .com to it. Age must be a number, so let's remove these strings and let's try to make it with negative to see if min and max are working, and yes, they are working. It must be at least 5, so return this to 17. and no errors found. Valit is also found in npm.js.com at npmjs.com/package/valit. I will leave you a link in the description, and here you can find the full documentation